So it appears that Russia is really, as this title from the Russian Media Monitor is, Russia is thrilled about Mike Johnson. We're going to go through this video and I'm going to stop and show you some things that they're referring to along the way. Usually I just react to it and talk about it, but here I want to actually show you some things because I've been following the story very closely on my channel. So I think they're right, but listen to what they're saying and why they're saying what they're saying, what they're hoping to get out of this. So thank you to the Russian Media Monitor for creating this great video. And here we go. I'm going to read the subtitles. And Zelensky is in mourning today. Mike Johnson was elected Speaker of the House. That was yesterday. All 220 Republican congressmen voted for him. Stop. We'll stop right there. Let's look at the New York Times, and that is correct. 220 Republicans in the fourth ballot voted for him. All 209 Democrats voted against him. And so it was something pretty significant that he was able to actually get that much support. Like there was no one in the Republican caucus that broke away and did not vote for him, which was kind of surprising. Okay, Johnson is not only the ultra-right Trump supporter who always voted against aid to Ukraine. Now let's stop with that first thing with Trump supporter. Trump came out of, I guess he was in a court of some sort and came out and said, thank you very much. And I just want to congratulate Mike Johnson. And he went on and said some nice things about him. So Trump likes the guy and making corresponding statements that were considered to be anti-Ukrainian. Stop. Okay. He's not a big supporter of Ukraine. In fact, he gets a bad review, an F from GOP4Ukraine.com, I believe it is, the Republicans for Ukraine, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Where Ukraine is concerned, it is sufficient to look at Johnson's ratings. Well, let's look at Johnson's ratings. Here it is. This is GOP4Ukraine.com, Republicans for Ukraine, Representative Mike Johnson. F, very poor. He voted for Defense of Lend-Lease, Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act in 2022, and then he's voted against everything else. All right, back to where we were. With respect to his support of Ukraine, his rating is very poor. That's a true statement. This means that all of this suits us well. That's right. The Russians really do like that Mike Johnson was elected because they believe that he is going to be an impediment to the United States providing aid to Ukraine. If the new speaker did not swear or make promises to his pro-Ukrainian fellow party members, the budget of aid to Ukraine is in question, and that is potentially at risk. We don't know what has happened behind the scenes or what Mike Johnson will think about as he's a speaker as opposed to just a member of the House of Representatives. With a Trump fanatic as a speaker, the bill for $106 billion proposed by Biden definitely will not pass. Well, we're not exactly sure that it won't pass, but the odds seem to have narrowed significantly. Johnson will simply not put it up for a vote. Now, the Speaker of the House, the person who is, so he's third in line of succession, the President, Vice President, and then Speaker of the House. So he's an important guy. He can kind of determine what's going to happen, what he's going to bring forward or what he's not going to bring forward. So he could potentially be a significant impediment to this. If he tries to uncouple Ukrainian aid from the Israeli aid, which he's all behind Israel, that could be a problem. But I think he's going to get a potential revolt from his Republican colleagues if he does that, or at least a Ukrainian supporting Republican colleagues. I don't know that. I think his safest course as the Speaker of the House is to just move legislation through as it's already kind of in place to be, rather than rock the boat. But we'll see what he does. Outward attention of the U.S. will be focused on helping a Jewish nation. Stop. That's what they want out of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They want American attention to be diverted from what's going on in Ukraine to what's going on in Israel and Gaza. And they're hoping for more and more of that. So they would want to inflame that conflict so that American eyes and especially dollars are not going to Ukraine. Okay, now we get to this weird montage that's just showing some things about what's going on in the House as he's becoming the speaker. And okay, they're just, I guess, burning time for some reason. Okay, now you see this lady saying shut up, and we'll get to that. What was the reason for this? This question by an ABC reporter, Rachel Scott. Mr. Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Do you stand by that vote? And this lady over in the corner here, she's a Virginia Fox. She's from North Carolina, was telling them to shut up, which wasn't a good look. Was also met with ridicule. Will you support additional aid to Ukraine? You asked your question, go away, says Virginia Fox. Okay, so that's the end of the Russian media monitor, but I want to show you a few more clips that will help explain what's going on. Okay, so here's the actual video, and we'll hear what was the question, and then Virginia Fox being somewhat rude.
We have a very busy agenda. We have appropriations bills to get through the process, but you are going to see this group working like a well-oiled machine.
Mr. Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Will you
Okay, now they're going back to overturning the 2020 election results. I don't think that if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, you're thinking that that's what was actually trying to happen. I hear the left talk about it's an insurrection. If it was an insurrection, it was the poorest planned insurrection ever on record. But conservatives don't think like that. Look at all the reactions of these guys, because like it's almost like the media narrative is, and this is why conservatives don't trust the media, is very slanted against them, and they're all kind of chuckling. Come on, really? Like that's what you're going to talk about? Okay, but she got pretty hostile and was yelling, "Shut up." Here we go. Okay, that's what they're talking about with that. Now, let's look on, and I've talked about this in a couple places here. I've talked about what was going on with him here as he was elected, his background here, so you can go back to those other videos. But in those, I also talked about this. I don't think that he's going to rule as the Speaker of the House in the same way that, or govern as the Speaker of the House in the same way that he voted as an individual congressman. Part of my reasoning is this. This was 2020, and I talked about this in a previous video, but I know that not everybody's going to watch everything. Here's Johnson and Wilson unveil this is the same Johnson, unveil RSC, that's a Republican organization, National Security Strategy. And when you get down to Russia, it talked about how Russia rolling back aggression through strategy of deterrence, stopping Putin's aggression. The strategy offers the toughest package of sanctions on Russia ever proposed by Congress, including secondary sanctions on Russian oil gas projects, sanctions on Russian sovereign debt, sanctions on Russian proxies in other countries, designating Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, which the Biden administration so far has refused to do. Now, again, Johnson and Wilson. Johnson was one of the co-authors of this national security strategy, and so I don't think he's like a friend of Russia, like a big pal of Russia. He voted against Ukrainian aid, but I don't know that it's because he has any antipathy toward Ukraine or any love for Russia. In fact, he clearly doesn't have a love for Russia, but he was talking about accountability. And here we see this. This was posted yesterday. Speaker Mike Johnson was asked if he supports additional Ukraine aid, and here's what he had to say.
Mr. Speaker, do you support additional aid to Ukraine?
We all do.
He said, we all do. Okay, listen.
We're going to have conditions on that, so we're working through it.
What kind of conditions?
We want accountability and we want objectives that are clear from the White House. But we're going to have those discussions. They're going to be very productive.
Okay, so what are the conditions? They want accountability and clear guidance from the White House of what the objectives are. Okay, that seems pretty fair, but I think that's a signal that Ukraine aid is going to get through. Jake Bro talked about this today, or actually yesterday. He talked about it and said that when he gets the national security briefings about what's going on in Ukraine, he may very well change his tune because, again, as an individual member voting, you might see one thing, but when you see what's going on, like when you really see what's going on, what the president sees, he might vote another way. So that's what's going on with Speaker Johnson. And, you know, I don't fault Russia for thinking the way that they're thinking about this guy. Like, hey, it looks like it's a sweet deal. Like he's going to be our guy. He's going to be stopping it. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen, but he could very well be an impediment. Okay, That's all that I have. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I missed or what else you can add to that in the comments below. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees, and thank you most of all for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.